Hey, what's up, y'all? How are we feeling? How are we feeling? Let's talk about the legacy of Russell Westbrook. Or not even talk about the legacy. Let's have a serious conversation. Let's have a conversation about Russell Westbrook. So, if you guys are out of the loop, Russell Westbrook just recently announced his retirement this past Wednesday after 18 incredible seasons in the NBA, 11 with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He had a season with Houston, a season with the Washington Wizards, a season and a half with the Los Angeles Lakers, and then a season and a half with the Clippers, and then rounded up his career with the Denver Nuggets and recently the Sacramento Kings. And I'm going to tell y'all some accolades that Russell has that makes him eligible for the first ballot Hall of Fame, even though he's never won a ring and he's only made one final. So let's see it here. After 18 NBA, I'm reading this off of Shams, by the way, on his IG. After 18 NBA seasons, Russ has retired, a legendary career, made the NBA's top 75 in 2022 when they did the 75th anniversary season, 2017 league MVP, and I'm going to talk about that and how I think that was one of the best underdog seasons accomplished by a player. 9-time All-Star, 9-time All-NBA, USA Olympic gold medalist, and he has the all-time record for triple doubles. If y'all have not tuned in to Russ, when he was playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he surpassed Oscar Robertson for the most triple doubles in NBA history. I think he had the most triple doubles in a season, which is the first time a guard in history has done that. I think he's the first player since Big O to do such a thing, and it was a game against the Denver Nuggets where he had that legendary game winner from like the freaking logo, you know what I'm saying? And then my man Aaron Cohen from Lakers All Day Every Day said one of two players to have 25,000 points and 10,000 assists. So with those accolades alone, how can you not say a guy like Russ is a Hall of Famer? And yeah, Russell Westbrook was not the most efficient player at all, but for a guy who's as inefficient as Russ, he still panned out a long career in the fashion he did. And every team that he's been on, a lot of guys have come out and said how much they love playing with Russell Westbrook. Paul George being an example. Contrary to prior belief, Kevin Durant even said some good things about Russ. And that's saying something because that man literally just turned his back on him when he signed with the Golden State Warriors for the 2016-17 season after they blew a 3-1 lead to Golden State in the conference finals the year before. But we'll get into that when we get into that. Carmelo Anthony said a lot of good things about Russell Westbrook. And other guys like Bradley Beal, Denny Avdia, James Harden, obviously, Serge Ibaka, Austin Reeves when he was a Laker, Patrick Beverley loved playing with Russell Westbrook for that half season. They were teammates on the Lakers. And then Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr. You can name all these guys that love playing with Russell, even though there are people like Skip Bayless that say he was a locker room vampire. Because that was a common narrative during the 2022-23 season when Russ was a Los Angeles Laker every time the Lakers were bad. When the Lakers were bad that one year with Russ, all the problems we had that year, and I had my video talking about why the Lakers were so bad that year. You guys can go check way down my timeline. That was back in December 2021. But everyone and their mothers blamed Russell Westbrook for every little freaking thing, bro. Every little thing. Whenever we played bad, it was always on Russell Westbrook. And Russell had his faults. He definitely had some laughable turnovers and brick shots. But let's not forget the fact that we were an old roster that cannot play defense. And LeBron and AD had their blunders as well, but it wasn't as talked about in the media. And I don't know if that says a lot more about Russell Westbrook and how underrated he became because of that Lakers stint, or how dumb the media can be at times. And it was even more evident when he joined the Los Angeles Clippers in 2023, where he felt like he can play free for the first time in a while because there was a lot of pressure on him when he was on the Lakers. And when he went to the Clippers, there was no pressure because who gives a damn about the Clippers? I know they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George at the time that were still somewhat at their peak, but they were becoming older and injury prone. Russell being on that team kind of helped get his confidence back. And I credit the Clippers and I credit Tyronn Lue, even though, yeah, bringing James Harden in was not the best decision. But it did give Russell a lot of his confidence back that he lost when he became a Los Angeles Laker. We also look at a stint with the Washington Wizards. When Russ was with Washington, pairing with Bradley Beal, rookie Denny Avdia, second-year Rui Hachimura, and then a few other guys like Mo Wagner, and I believe Thomas Bryant was their starting center. Daniel Gaffer was their starting center, actually. Never mind. He brought a lot of fun and joy to a Washington team that really has not seen a lot of joy since 2016-17, aka the season where John Wall and the Washington Wizards forced a Game 7 versus the Boston Celtics in the second round after John Wall hits one of the more incredible clutch game winners in playoff history in that Game 6. The Wizards really didn't have much to cheer for. When Russell Westbrook came to the squad, it was kind of like, okay, how is it going to work? But Russ and Bradley Beal were an underrated backcourt duo. But unfortunately, too many injuries, and it's just like, I didn't see too much cohesion throughout the year when all those guys did play between Russ, Bradley, Denny, Rui, and all them cats. But they did give a lot of Washington fans something to cheer for, even though they got eventually outed in 5 games by the Philadelphia 76ers. 2019-20, and I feel like I'm going backwards because why the hell not? 2019-20, when he was with the Houston Rockets, pairing with James Harden for the first time since the Oklahoma City days. In those first 3 years, him and James Harden, along with guys like Kevin Durant and Serge Ibaka, made the finals. The Rockets were a much more energized, fast-paced team with Russell Westbrook on the squad. And Russell was more in his prime than someone like Chris at the time. And there was a point in time before the season shut down when COVID was becoming more and more of an issue throughout the United States and the whole entire world. They were this close to being the number 2 seed, bumping down the Los Angeles Clippers, who were supposed to be the primetime team along with the Lakers, with LeBron and AD's first year together, and then it was Kawhi and PG's first year together. You get the story. The Rockets were on a major roll, and then the season shut down, and unfortunately Russ got an injury. James Harden really looked out of shape and all that other stuff, and they really didn't go anywhere, and yeah. That was the end of that. We look at his tenure with Oklahoma City. Like I said, 11 great years with that Thunder squad. And what sucked about the Thunder is that, number one, they didn't even consider having a conversation with Russ when Russ was still a free agent and he was up for grabs. They let Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Joe go because they want to get under the luxury tax. But because they free up so much money, you mean to tell me, Sam Presti, for as much as I've been giving you credit for building the rosters the way you've been building them, you couldn't give Russell Westbrook one more ride? And you could have had good guard depth? Yes, I know you have AJ Mitchell. I know you have Jared McCain. But Russell brings that energy and toughness that I feel like Oklahoma City is not going to have this year. Yes, they're going to be good. And I understand Cason Wallace is a dog. And I love J-Dub and I love AJ. But it's just like they need that ferocious dog off that bench and another ball handler. I know AJ and Jared McCain, but Russell adds another dynamic that could be vital to a team's bench, and you couldn't even sign him for a 1-year deal. That's what kind of ticked me off about Oklahoma City, and they didn't even post a tribute video for Russell. Maybe they might when Russell does go back to Paycom Center or Chesapeake Energy Arena as like a special guest, and when he gets his number retired, they'll play a special tribute video. I don't doubt that, but it's just like the Thunder just basically slapped their own fan base in the face by just saying, okay, yeah, 11 great seasons, congratulations, Russell, or something like that. That made no sense to me and a lot of NBA fans. You guys can go check out Oklahoma City's post on Instagram. But now we're going to get to the season I really, really love watching Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook became one of my favorite players. After KD left for Golden State in 2016, Russell Westbrook entered that season with pretty much nothing to lose. It was just Russell and Victor Oladipo. Oladipo was a decent shot creator, but he wasn't a guy that could space the floor like Paul George did and Carmelo Anthony did when the Pacers made that trade for Victor and OKC got PG. Russell had one of the more legendary campaigns that I've ever seen from a single player. The dude was 1v5ing the whole entire league, and that's no disrespect to Oladipo, nor Steven Adams, nor Andre Roberson, and then Domantas Sabonis as well. But Russell needed another guy to space the floor, and he needed another perimeter ball handler and another star to pair with him because it was just Russell by his lonesome. But he went out, and yes, he was an inefficient ball player. But can we stop these whole damn analytics? Analytics are ruining the game. You ruin a good team because, okay, Jaylen Brown has this percentage of, usage rate, or, Jason Tatum has a better plus minus with Jaylen Brown. All these analytical semantic BS takes, which if you look at the eye test, they were a good team and they won a championship. And they did it with the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though, yeah, it was more reasonable because Lou Dort was falling out of the rotation. I get it. No problem there. But the whole analytics thing kind of ruined Russell's career too, but I will get to that. That 2016-17 season, again, that was a season where Russ had nothing to lose. Because it's just like, shoot, no one's expecting me to win. Everyone thought I was the problem when we were not going as far in the playoffs as we wanted to, because I remember watching a few clips from First Take when the Oklahoma City Thunder blew a 3-1 lead to the Golden State Warriors in the conference finals. Everyone was saying Russell Westbrook this, Russell Westbrook, or not, well, actually not everyone. Skip Bayless was the one saying that. He was saying, oh, Russell Westbrook did this, that, and the other. And Stephen A. Smith said, yeah, Russell Westbrook had his blunders, but look at Kevin Durant and his lack of aggression. Game 6, he did not even attempt a shot. And if he did, he attempted with such low confidence, like it's just like, oh, shoot, we're in a Game 6. Anyone that knows ball knew that Russell Westbrook was the true leader of those teams. He was the engine to that Oklahoma City offense. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that take because I know Kevin Durant is a great scorer. He was the best scorer and player on that team, but Russell, in my opinion, was the heart and soul and the leader of that team. Think of someone like a Draymond Green on the Golden State Warriors. Yes, Steph Curry is a leader in and of himself, and he is the Golden State Warriors' best player, but Draymond was the quarterback to what was a historically good offense throughout the past decade and a half with Golden State. Let's keep it a buck. Russell did have his faults, like I said, and then because of all that, yeah, he's in year 10 and Russell will be in year 9. Kevin just basically chickened out of OKC and went to go to Golden State because he wanted an easy ring and he just couldn't make it work for at least 2 more seasons with Russ. And that's why a lot of Oklahoma City fans are still mad to this very day. But Russell averaged 30, 10, and 10. Yeah, screw the efficiency. The fact that a guard will average 30, 10, and 10 is just impressive in and of itself. He was one of the more clutch players of that year. I know that award for clutch, I don't know if there was a clutch player of the year award, but if there was, it would definitely have went to Isaiah Thomas because of what IT did with Boston that year, being king of the fourth quarter. He would definitely have won clutch player of the year, if anything, but Russell Westbrook was just as clutch as IT during the regular season. And he led that team to, I believe, 44, 45 wins. And every game against the Houston Rockets was close, and it was because of Russell Westbrook. And of course, if Andre Robertson knew how to make his free throws, then holy crap, that series, I believe, would have at least went 6 to 7 games. That's how close the series was. It went down to the wire. All 5 games, I think they all went down to the wire, if I'm not mistaken. Russell Westbrook, rightfully so, won the MVP, even though you could say that, yeah, James Harden should have won it because of the season he had. He had a 30-point per game season, but people don't understand that what Russ did in that 2016-17 season was nothing short of historic. But the next 2 seasons with Oklahoma City, the pressure was on Russell Westbrook to not only build off of his MVP season, but now that he got a couple complimentary stars, pressure was on him because he got Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, and the 3 really never gelled like that. Even though Russ and PG were a better tandem, Carmelo was eventually fizzled out of the offense, and as a result, he ended up being an afterthought in the OKC offense, and reasonably so because Melo did not play well in any of the games that they played against the Utah Jazz in the 2018 playoffs. Not putting it all on Carmelo, but definitely he was, I don't know if it was on Billy Donovan on not calling plays for Carmelo, or the fact that, it was just clear to the eye test that Russ and PG were a better tandem, and all they really needed was good complementary role players. So, as a result, after being booted out in a Game 6 in Utah, they went out and traded Carmelo Anthony. I think they traded Carmelo Anthony to the Atlanta Hawks, and they got Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis Schroeder was a good backup guard to have off the OKC bench, and they were on fire for the first half of the year. But I think since the All-Star break, they started going on a major tailspin, losing a lot of winnable games, and they ended up being the number 6 seed in the West in 2019, facing the Portland Trail Blazers. And then this is where a lot of the criticisms about Russell Westbrook started to rise a little bit, even though he was already one of the more criticized athletes. I will say this, that the media was right about one thing. Russell Westbrook tried to make that Blazers Thunder series a showdown between him and Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, on the other hand, was focused on winning the series against the Thunder. Yes, there was a lot of chippiness, and Dame and Russ gave us some entertaining performances. Obviously, Dame hit that long-range bomb to send Oklahoma City home and send PG to the Clippers and Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets in that eventual Game 5. There was a lot of bad Russell Westbrook play in that series. Very bad. It was to a point where I believe Game 4, when they had a chance to tie the series and the game was still somewhat in bounds, I think Russell shot like 3 of 14, and I don't believe he made a field goal in that whole entire second half from what I remember, and he was turning the ball over like crazy in half of those games as well. And Game 5, there was a few plays where Russell commits a dumb offensive foul, and when the Thunder had a chance to take the lead in the final seconds, Paul George did hit a shot, I believe it was like a jumper, to tie the game, and then Damian Lillard, to give the Thunder a 2-point lead. Paul George gets a free throw line jumper, and then Damian Lillard hits a layup, and then Russell tries to call his own number. He does a weird twisting, turning layup in order to draw contact, or in his attempt to try to draw contact on a foul, and unfortunately it didn't go his way, and unfortunately the Thunder lost the series, and the Thunder ended up losing Russell Westbrook. But all I'm saying is that Russell Westbrook does have a complicated legacy, because you could definitely look at his inefficiency and his turnover ratio. And yes, I'm being very precise in this video, but I'm just kind of giving myself a good perspective about what we can all make of Russell Westbrook's legacy, because yeah, you can definitely look at his faults, because Russ does have his faults. He can be an inefficient turnover machine, but at the same time, he is an energy guy who a lot of teammates have come out and said they love playing with him. Again, the Denver Nuggets with Russ coming off the bench was probably the closest thing that they would ever have to winning a title again. Because since then, they really didn't have that muscle and grit, like, let's say, a Bobby Portis for the Milwaukee Bucks for the last 6 years, and why I believe he's going to be for the Miami Heat. Russell Westbrook was that type of player. When Jamal Murray needed a break on the bench, or when Jamal was playing bad, Russell Westbrook was always there to back him up. And I believe with Russ being in the lineup, it allowed Jamal to play off the ball. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it was the same thing in Washington when Bradley Beal was the primary ball handler for this last half of, the tail end of his Washington Wizards stint. Russell Westbrook allowed Bradley Beal to play off ball, which is what he's best at. Let's see, Kawhi and Paul George. Paul George and Kawhi needed a point guard because Reggie Jackson slowly fizzled out of the offense, and he wasn't the same player he was in the 2021 playoffs. They got Russell Westbrook, and it looked like they were going to mesh well until eventually PG and Kawhi got hurt right on schedule. And yeah, they ran it back in 2024, but they got James Harden, and Ty Lue made him to a spot-up shooter, which it did some wonders because Russell eventually became a really good corner three-point shooter. But that was not his game, and that was the mistake that the Los Angeles Lakers made when we had LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And here's the thing about that Lakers team and why that failed, and it wasn't all on Russell Westbrook. LeBron James and Anthony Davis need guys around him that can shoot. Russell Westbrook was not that, and the guys we had to complement our roster were not that as well. Russell Westbrook needed stars that can shoot. And I'm not saying LeBron and AD can't shoot, but those are not the type of players that thrive next to a Russell Westbrook, which is why he saw more success with guys like Paul George and Kawhi and early on Kevin Durant than he did with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's just my opinion. So overall, when you look at Russell Westbrook's legacy in a vacuum, Russell is an all-time great player. And I do believe that he deserves a lot more respect than what he got when he was playing in his prime. Because here's the thing, a lot of this whole efficiency and analytics stuff, I believe it ruined things for a guy like Russ, because everyone's focusing on analytics and efficiency. And it's just like, look, if you look at how Russell plays and how he does not cheat the game, and he'll give you 110% every time he was on the floor, it's just like that's enough for any team to want a guy like that. But I also have to consider this as someone who does love Russ. He was aging. He's going to be age 38 by the time it's November. I think he turns 38 in November. Yeah. And it's just like we have too much of a guard influx as well. Because now you have the younger guards like Darius Acuff Jr., who just got drafted, Keem Vogler, who just got drafted, and then you have someone like Brandon Podziemski, who I don't know how that clown is still employed. And then you obviously look at the young stars like Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, even Ja Morant. Who else? Austin Reeves, Derek White, Drew Holiday. I know Drew Holiday's not young because he's in that mold of players with guys like Russ and KD, but you get what I mean. Devin Booker, another example. Who else? Davion Mitchell, who I don't think he's a star, but he is a serviceable role player who also gives 110%, especially on the defensive side of the ball. When you look at all those factors, yeah, I can see why Russell Westbrook had to retire at the top of his game, which I think that's the best decision he could have made, because otherwise I would have loved to see him run it back one more time with Oklahoma City. And there were a lot of teams that could have used Russell Westbrook because they needed a guard on their team. Last year, I said the Houston Rockets should have been the ones to sign him because, look, they needed a point guard because of the fact Fred VanVleet was out. But no, they chose to run things with Amin Thompson as the point guard, which is fine, but that's why they got outed in 6 games the way they did. And it had nothing to do with Kevin Durant's injury, because when KD did play, the Lakers basically shut him down and swarmed him at every opportunity they had. And the Rockets had no spacing anyway, even with KD and Şengün and Amin Thompson. So it's just like you might as well have tried Russell Westbrook, because the spacing didn't matter because their offense didn't move the ball well enough to command said spacing. So you might as well have tried Russ, because at least you have a floor general that could lead an offense. But I'm going to say this before I let y'all go. As a Laker fan, I do believe his stint with the Lakers really changed things for his career. And you could definitely say for the worse, because of what I just talked about earlier, how bad the Lakers were, how there was so much pressure on Russell Westbrook to win next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And he was a scapegoat for everything that went wrong with that Lakers team in 2021-22. And even when we were a decent team before we traded Russell at the deadline, he was still getting the brunt of the blame, or the brunt of the blame. He was still getting the whole piece of blame pie whenever the Lakers lost. So I am definitely happy for Russell Westbrook and how he's going out on the top of his game. And it's just like, yeah, he had 1 to 2 more good years left, but unfortunately a lot of teams did not look at Russell, and I can see why, because of the influx of young guards. But again, sometimes teams need a vet that could help lead that team. And there were a couple teams that did give Russell Westbrook some consideration, I should say, and they wanted to meet with him, and those were the Sacramento Kings and then the Washington Wizards. While Washington may not have been a bad choice because they have A.J. Dybonsa and Trae Young, and then they just had Anthony Davis at the deadline last year, which God knows when he's going to play. Russell Westbrook is like, wait a minute. I'm in the back half of my career. I'm at the tail end of my career. I only have 1 to 2 good years left. And I want to play meaningful basketball. I want to help a team win. Like OKC, Houston. What else? The Miami Heat would have been good, even though they don't really have that much spacing at all. The San Antonio Spurs would have been all right. But what I'm trying to say is that Russell wanted to play meaningful basketball to wrap up his career, but none of these contending teams even gave Russell a thought. In fact, they treated him like an afterthought. You know what I'm saying? So it sucks that Russell Westbrook had to retire without a farewell tour, which is genuinely messed up, because a guy like him and Chris Paul too deserved a farewell tour. You know what I mean? They did not deserve to get blackballed by the NBA basically and have all these analytics just basically throw them under the bus, or throw him under the bus, I should say. No, he deserved his fair share of flowers. He deserved his fair due and all that other stuff, man. And, you know, it just sucks seeing him retire in the fashion he did, because he definitely deserved better. I'm happy I got to witness such inspiring underdog basketball, and I will say this till the end of time. That 2016-17 run that Russ had was probably one of the more entertaining, legendary, inspiring underdog basketball performances I've seen from a single player. because it just showed heart and grit. And a player like that deserved a ring more than anything. I would love for you guys to give y'all perspective about Russell Westbrook and who he is as a player. And do you guys think that he should have been signed with a team? And what do you guys think of his numbers? Do you guys think he should have a ring by now or whatever, what have you? You know what? Sound off in your opinion about Russell Westbrook and how you feel about his career, and if you think he's Hall of Fame worthy, which I hope you guys do, but if you don't, let me know why. But yeah, more off-season videos coming soon. We are at the dead part of the off-season, so expect some gameplay footage to finally start rolling out, because I've been promising that throughout the whole entire off-season. And I'm definitely going to make a couple MLB videos. I still need to work on my MLB salary cap video because we are close to October baseball. And maybe some footage from, like, you know, I have NBA 2K11 on my old PS3 here up and rolling. So maybe y'all will get to see some gameplay of that once I figure things out. Who knows? But yeah, until all that happens, man, I love y'all. I'll see y'all next time. That's the end of this video. I'm X. Deuces.